Hello everybody, it's that Sonic Guy. Today we'll be going over 3 Sonic villains from the modern era. 1, a mindless beast who causes destruction through time. The other, a previous god split into the mind and the body. And the weak, giving power they never should have been given. This is Sonic villains. The good, the bad, the weak. Now, the first villain we will be going over is Mephiles. Now, you will absolutely have to bear with me with this. I've never played 06 for good reasons, but I do know most of what he is. Our story starts before the events of all the games. Sonic 1, Sonic Popcorn Bucket, literally all of them, where the king of Soliana is trying to find a way to harness time travel. So his first thought is to use the energy of one of the only gods that isn't known for their time travel. Now, how would you guess try to control a god goes? If your answer was everybody in there dying, then you'd be right. It goes horribly, killing everybody there. All of it starts because of a grieving king. All because of him, one of the worst Sonic villains in the entire franchise. Now, since this video isn't about Iblis, I'm not going to go into anything he does. That will probably be for something later if I ever make another long form. But Mephiles, after being freed, immediately tries to fuse with Iblis to become Solaris once more, but is stopped by Shadow the Hedgehog, because of course he is. And in that time, Mephiles decides to take Shadow's form. And, that's kind of interesting to me. He's, well, at least a part of a god. Yet he always wants more. He's never satisfied with any victory he manages to achieve. And that's just kind of fascinating. Even something as powerful as him always wants more and more and more. It's never enough for him. And I think Sonic X Shadow Generations helps prove that Mephiles is just greedy. He never is satisfied with what he does get. He's even more desperate there. He's not even trying to manipulate Shadow like before. He just wants to kill him. And I think that the last part of what Mephiles says is just so interesting. The last thing he says, well, I'm just going to play it right here. It's something more than craving power, but I see it as a desperate plea. Maybe, just maybe, he thinks if he kills Shadow, he can go back into the timeline and nobody else will be powerful enough to stop him. He knows manipulation is not going to work on Shadow. Not anymore. Now, I know I haven't gotten to the time meter yet, and we're already pretty far into this, but I think another interesting thing about both Mephiles and the time meter is that Mephiles' boss fight is hidden. It's the only one that's truly as hidden as Mephiles. Whether Eggman or the Time Eater or something else, they don't want anybody to find Mephiles. They want to keep him trapped there. As for my personal thoughts on Mephiles, despite me actually hyping him up as much as I did throughout this whole thing, I haven't played 06, and I'm kind of mixed on him. The way I see it, he's a okay villain held down by the game he's in, and Shadow Generations definitely did him justice, and I honestly like how he is in game. I can't say anything about the gameplay side of it, as, again, never played 06, never in my life, but I feel like a lot of it is kind of a suspension of disbelief that everybody just trusts him as much as they do. Now, the next one is, in many people's opinion at least, a pretty mediocre villain, the Time Eater. Debuts in Sonic Generations, and the first thing he does is just destroy all of time. He's called the Time Eater, obviously. Now, I want to, go in depth what he is, what he wants, what he does, what he serves, but there's kind of nothing. He's not like Chaos or Gaia, or even Mephiles like before. He's just some random monster that Eggman found after the events of Colors. And that's kind of it. I mean, I guess it's unique in the fact that it's one of the only ones that never really betrayed Eggman, but that's kind of it. Again, there are some cool things. It's just that they're not really that important, I mean, it does seem to have a little bit of a mind of its own. Again, with the whole Mephiles thing I talked about earlier, it's just there's not really much to him. I kind of wish there was, but I mean, I like him. But then again, I like most things Sonic related. Now, the final villain we will talk about is Infinite. Infinite's story begins with him and his squad. From the little we know about them, they seem to be small time criminals that just never really interfered with any of the heroes in anything. And in the comic issues they appear in, what they decide to do is they decide to attack one of Eggman's bases to steal parts to get some money. Now, you'd think they would just not survive. You would think, like, a singular egg pod would just genuinely destroy them. But they hold their own shockingly well, and Infinite would have probably killed Eggman right then and there if he didn't accidentally strike the Phantom Ruby. But then, both him and Eggman see this illusion, a destroyed world. Everything's on fire, kind of like how Forces looks. And, well, there's a statue of Infinite there. He thinks he's the best. He has an ego bigger than Eggman, and that's kind of hard to do. And, it kind of shows that he was always just some insane, evil kind of person. It's just he never was able to let loose, so he could never show it. Now, eventually, Eggman, with the power of the Phantom Ruby, is able to defeat the squad, all of them. And, well, you would think he would just kill them on the spot, but I guess a little bit of Archie Eggman shined through, because his first thought was to hire the people who just tried to kill him. And that's the end of the comic. Now, his next appearance in the canon Sonic timeline, that is the Shadow prequel story of Sonic Forces, where Shadow, presumably at least, just slimes out the entire Jackal squad. They're probably dead, at least from what the dialogue is meant to believe. Then Infinite tries to act all cool, tries to fight him. He doesn't go well. He gets beaten and is called weak, and that's what kind of broke him. Now, Forces, despite being his debut, is also kind of weird because for some reason, the game really likes to treat him like he's just a robot. And with everything that happens, I think that the original plan was for him to be a robot. But, like, that's unimportant. Now, with his theme, throughout the entire game, all Infinite does is just try to prove that he's not weak. He's something important. He's something people should fear. Everything he does, from the aura farming on a level that could rival Cold Steel the Hedgehog, with his dialogue, to the fact that he makes giant monsters of himself whenever they attack Metropolis. It is all just to try to prove he's not weak. And maybe deep down he knows he will always be weak, but maybe, just maybe, if he proves to everyone else that he's not weak, even if it means sending a sun down and killing everybody, he's very much willing to do it. And I think another thing that's interesting is that none of the powers he uses are anything original. Everything is taken from some other villain that's more powerful, better. Even in his song, the first set of lines is him comparing himself to the 4 villains that he makes phantom copies of, trying to make himself seem better than everyone else. It's honestly kind of impressive how many times he does this. Now, while yes, he does show up in the Chaotix podcast videos, whatever you want to call those, it doesn't change what I think of Infinite. If anything, it makes me think he wants to prove to everyone he's not weak even more with what he does. Him showing up, acting like he's the big bad villain, aura farming, all that, going on a AM level speech. It was honestly quite hilarious to see. Well, that's all I have to say about these 3 Sonic villains. The good, the bad, and the weak. Any feedback would be appreciated, and it's that Sonic Sky out.